When most people think of Utah, the first thing that comes to mind is probably party animals. Libation-soaked beach parties with thumping techno, pulsing crowds of attractive, scantily clad college babes, and tons of... Oh, wait, no, that's totally wrong. It's probably more like... Ah, yes, that's right. When people think of Utah, they think of dual sport motorcycling. So with a young family and with, what should be described as a desk job with benefits, my traveling has actually been really limited. But I really can't complain because it's easy to be a little bit of a homebody when you ride in a place like this. Makes me really conflicted with how much I should tell people about this place. Residents worry about its wildfire growth, and nobody wants to see it become a tourist trap like Moab or Telluride. Its charm kind of weakens with each new home built, and in a selfish way, I want to keep it more or less a secret. However, that desire to hog it all to myself is easily overshadowed by my love for meeting and riding with awesome new people. Sharing these amazing trails with them and hearing the oohs and ahs when people realize just how fantastic this place is. So I've come up with the top 10 reasons to ride in southern Utah. And reason number 1 is the terrain and the views are incredible. While the views aren't as good as what you'd find in like a restricted national park, it's pretty much made up for the lack of tourist traffic and just the vast openness of all the stuff that you get to ride. Obviously, desert riding is the main attraction with arroyos, plateaus, sand dunes, deep trenches, sandstone, cliffside vistas, and a landscape that seems to go on forever. That doesn't mean the desert is the only option down here, though. Within about an hour's ride, you can see an enormous diversity of ecosystems that mimic cinema-worthy areas in Africa, Egypt, Australia, and even Mongolia. The second reason why you want to ride in southwest Utah is all of the technical riding. Southern Utah is crammed full of single track and challenging hill climbs and whoops and natural berms, winding riverbeds and sandstone and sand dunes and these cliffside trails that just get your heart racing. There are hundreds of routes that are only 30 or 40 miles long, but they will take an entire day to complete with a lot of the groups that I take out. So these trails will challenge and push most riders, and while they're not, unending, relentless, grueling slogs, they do have enough challenge to make it really fun between the stretches of the easier terrain. And that contrasts sharply with the third reason to ride here, though, and that is on a relaxing day or on a larger motorcycle, you can sit back and enjoy the more mellow, scenic trails and cover a lot of ground. There are plenty of long, winding fire roads, double tracks, mine roads, and scenic byways to enjoy down here. And if you want to get even less technical but even more scenic, reason number 4 works even with families and road bikes like cruisers. Southwest Utah boasts a handful of state parks as well as Zion National Park, and it's within a day's trip of Bryce Canyon and the Grand Canyon. And many people comment that Utah's state parks are just as incredible and just as scenic as many other states' national parks. But because of the majesty of Zion and Arches and Bryce and the Grand Canyon, these state parks are often overlooked, which means they're less crowded but still amazing. Even areas outside of state and national parks make for beautiful road rides like Apple Valley or the road to Gunlock. So let's say you just want to stay off the bikes for a day or two and enjoy a little bit of time with the your family or something, or your buddies that you bring down. The city has a lot of free splash pads and a ton of different parks, and just dozens of local hikes and bicycle trails, and lots of historical sites, and an incredible outdoor theater called Tuacahn. And then there's these beaches at Sand Hollow, and there's sand dunes at Snow Canyon, and there's rock climbing, and there's caving, and there's canyoneering. And it's basically like this giant outdoor playground that brings a lot of people in. And funny thing is, if that's not quite your thing, then you could go to Vegas. And Vegas is only about an hour and a half away.
Reason number 6 is the weather. And while it does get very hot in July and August, Southwest Utah enjoys late falls all through September to December, and early springs from about February to May, and excellent riding weather through most of the winter months. While most of the northern hemisphere is covered in snow and muck and slush, Southwest Utah temps usually hover around the 50-degree Fahrenheit mark, or about 10 degrees Celsius, which is just enough for a light hoodie during an active ride. And it snows here about once a year, and it rarely sticks.
So reason number 7 is the historical and kind of the geological wonders of this whole place. The town itself of St. George has a lot of historical landmarks from early settlers and pioneers from the 1800s, but there are also a lot of really fascinating ancient petroglyphs. There's some dinosaur tracks. There's a lot of dinosaur fossils that you can go see at this weird this museum thing. But there's these bewildering geological formations all over the place, and there's lava tubes, and there's petrified dunes, and there's just lots of stuff out there for you to see. And the thing is that where they find the dinosaur tracks and where they find the petroglyphs, that's just places where they're closer to town, so they gate them off or whatever. There's places out here that you could just stumble across them. It's pretty awesome.
Number 8 is one of my favorites, and it's why I choose to live here. Most of these trails and wonders are within an hour or less of downtown, and that means that there's no need for trailering on a plated bike, and you won't be worn out from a long road ride by the time you reach the good stuff in the trails. Just 5 minutes from my doorstep and you're suddenly in an amazing playground of canyons, riverbeds, and trails.
You can ride for the entire day, but get a good night's sleep without worrying about a long drive home or setting up a camp or anything like that. And since the town is close, that also means the emergency services are close if you ever need those. There's great restaurants nearby, so you're not stuck out there eating a thing out of a bag, one of those stove thingies. But there's gasoline close by. There's major stores like Costco and Walmart and stuff. And there's also motorcycle dealerships, and one of those is Rocky Mountain ATV-MC. And so what's really cool about that is that their prices are the same as what's online, which means that you can get anything in their catalog at the online prices shipped here to St. George to the dealership to pick up, usually within about a day, which is pretty handy for people who are short on time, may need a part or something like that.
Reason number 9 is the accommodations. So St. George plays host to several events, from marathons to sports tournaments to shooting competitions to Ironman triathlons and even the World Senior Games. And this means that there are plenty of hotels and plenty of fantastic places to eat, but it's not quite a tourist trap. And as I mentioned before, there's plenty of amenities close to town, close to the trails. However, if you do prefer to camp, the world is literally yours. Land all around the city is open to primitive camping, and if you need a bathroom, then there are a few paid and very nice camping spots within the state parks.
Pardon the shameless self-promotion, but if you want to hang out with me and you prefer a secure garage for your bikes and a lift and all the tools that you need, there's a suite with a king bed and 2 full beds and 2 twin beds. There's a huge home theater screen. There's a full kitchen, a full laundry, all that stuff. It's all at the Moto Mansion. So if you want to come and ride with me, hang out, send me a message through Patreon, and we'll talk about bike rentals and guided tours, and hook you up with a stay at the Moto Mansion. So that should be pretty awesome if you're interested in coming down. So shameless plug, over.
final reason to ride in Southwest Utah is the wide open discovery of it all. In many other riding areas, the trails are maintained, they're named, they're mapped, which is good, but that also means they're often overcrowded and usually restricted. In Southwest Utah, you can ride wherever you want, discover things that are really amazing, you can camp wherever you feel, or you can return to the city and get an excellent meal and sleep in a plush bed within about an hour's ride. The trails aren't named, but I know many in my head well enough, and yet every time I go out, I find something new and amazing. And I've lived here for nearly half a decade, and I'm still just scratching the surface.
And when people come to ride with me, things are a little bit different. Because if I lead a guided tour, it takes people where I want to go, like a specific destination, like one of the trenches in my videos, like the Death Star Trench. And we might miss a dozen, amazing unseen areas in between, because I'll just go straight there. But if you come down here and you lead, then it's an adventure, because when you lead, you'll probably find a new trail or a new trench or something amazing, some amazing valley or overlook almost every time. And it may sound weird, but when people ask me where to go and what to ride while they're here, I'll just tell them to go out and get lost and have an adventure. Understandably, because I didn't tell them exactly where to go. But every single time they come back, they've got a big smile on their face, they've got a great story. Usually they've had a real adventure where they've gone out and explored, and they've found their own path. Southwest Utah is a place where you can really get out and explore and get lost and be alone. And instead of you going and trying to find adventure, you just kind of go out and ride and let the adventure find you.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I'd love to see you come ride with me down here in southern Utah. If you'd like to come down, ride motorcycles with me, send me a message on Patreon and we will get it all booked and taken care of. Thanks again for watching, you guys. Much love. eveRide out.